Steve Siler is founder and director of Music for the Soul, and he is an accomplished songwriter and music producer with over 500 songs recorded in Christian, country, and pop genres, shall I say. And his songs have been recorded by pop and country artists such as Kenny Loggins, Smokey Robinson, Patti LaBelle, Kenny Rogers, and the Oak Ridge Boys, among so many others. And I'm so grateful to have him here. I'm just so excited. I want to welcome Steve Siler to you.
Thank you so much, Nancy. Thank you for having me today.
I'm so excited to have you. And you said all of our consulting therapists told us that anxiety was the thing that they were hearing about the most from their clients.
Yes.
And you put together a musical project called What Hope Says. What inspired What Hope Says?
We always want to give therapists and pastors and those in any kind of ministry setting tools for their toolkit to help people hear and learn and know the truth about who they are, about who the Lord is. And what we've found is that people learn in all different sorts of ways. Some people are readers, some people are visual, some people are musical. Some people, learn through dancing. I mean, motion. There's all kinds of ways to learn. But one of the best gifts that God has given us for learning is a song, because we process language in the left hemisphere of our brain and we process melody in the right hemisphere of our brain. And it just so happens that we carry our trauma in the right hemisphere of our brain. So when I sing to you, I'm speaking to your deep hurts. And I'm doing that in a way that can instantaneously open up a heart. And, a song has a way, songs are like time travel, right? You hear a song and bam, you're back in high school or whatever. It brings back memories. Well, they have a way of seeping through the cracks in our walls of defense. Or sometimes I refer to water under the door. There's no way to keep a song out. And if you can bring a healing message in that song, and then melody is a memory device, now people have a better chance not only of hearing what you're saying, but remembering it too. And so when the consulting therapists were all telling me, hey, what we're seeing is anxiety. That's the number one thing that we're seeing in our office. Well, then the inspiration for me there was, then we have a great need to serve. And we spent about 2 years working on this project. We did a lot of research with our consulting therapists, also a lot of reading, a lot of speaking with people who had struggled with anxiety and found a way to deal with it. And then what we do is we get together, we have writing retreats, we write the music and the songs, and then we go back to the people that we talk to, the consultants, and we say, okay, is this it? And when they say yes, then we know we're ready to go and record. My favorite moment is when somebody will hear a song and will go, that's exactly what it felt like. You can see in their face that you have landed in the right place to help resonate with what they felt.
I didn't know it was that deep. I didn't even think about that.
Right.
Because music pulls back memories. I remember during COVID, just, with my husband, and we were just, the only thing we had was our patio room and music. And so it just it makes you feel and think about things. And this is amazing. This is something I've never heard before. That is awesome. So the songs that they're so diverse, how do you choose them?
The song will tell you what it wants to be. As you delve into the topic, a song like Prayer for the Anxious, which leads off the project, just by the very nature of the title, you have a feeling, okay, Prayer for the Anxious, that's probably a soothing, comforting conversation with God about our anxiety. And that's exactly what it is. So it's got a solo piano and a cello and a solo voice. It's very tender. And then the second song is called No Wonder We're Losing Our Minds. Well, now that is a completely different musical experience.
Yeah, I would say.
Because the song basically sounds like we're losing our minds. So I really do let the songs yeah, I would say generally in broad terms, we do pop music, right? But
Mhm.
there's so many styles within pop. There's a gospel choir on this record. There's one song that's a full orchestra. So we really do let the song kind of lead the way as to what it wants to be, and that's how we wind up with so much diversity in our recordings.
And so are you're not the only one doing these recordings. Talk about some of the people that are doing them with you.
Well, people say how many people work at Music for the Soul, and I say when we're working on a project, several hundred.
Oh,
because
okay.
because we're pulling in all this talent, right? We have several different singers on this recording, and we have musicians. Like I said, we full orchestra, rock band, individual musicians sharing their gifts, and so I am the as the founder of the ministry, I'm the, I guess, executive producer, if you want to call it that, in the sense that it all comes back to me. Whatever needs to get handled or whatever is forgotten or messed up, it all comes back to me. But basically, God has blessed me through the years. I had a long career as a contemporary Christian music staff writer. I wrote for Word for years. I wrote for McSpadden Smith. I wrote for Star Song. Writing for Christian music recording artists, and had more success than anybody would have a right to. God was so gracious with me. And what I didn't realize at the time was that God was assembling our Music for the Soul team. Because once I decided to do the ministry, I looked around, and what do you know? I know all these amazing writers. I know all these amazing singers, musicians. They're all believers. And as I started to invite people, if they wanted to be involved, people just really love being able to use their gifts to pour into ministry and help people who are in pain.
Unbelievable. I love that. I love that I love the way the Lord leads people together so that,
Mhm.
and then he makes you go through these like long roads, right?
Yes,
And then you get to the place where you're like, oh, now I know why you had me doing the things you had me doing,
right.
right?
Yeah, in hindsight, you can look, okay, the Lord knew that I would need that long before I did. And
Yeah.
so I think one of the interesting things about the Christian walk is that it's our obedience that leads us to those moments. Because
Mhm.
by being faithful to do whatever God is calling us to do in the moment, we may be getting prepared for something down the road that we have no way of even knowing about. And I
Yeah.
certainly feel that way in looking back on the team that God put together. There was no way I could have known. And that scripture about to whom much is given, much is expected. I feel like with all the talented, faithful friends that I have been given, much indeed is expected, and gratefully we've been able to create these records and honor God, hopefully, in doing that.
That's amazing. As you're talking, I'm thinking about, what did God do to make you want to start to see that there's a problem here? I mean, you must have stopped in your tracks and said, I the Lord is trying to tell me I need to address the problems of today.
Well, I'll tell you, it was a very direct way that he went about that. I was heading in the wrong direction, basically. I was trying to become a star, a rock star, singer songwriter, and I banged my head against that wall for 10 or 12 years. And the Lord, it's like the Lord knew, unless I give him a little bit of success, he's never going to get the message. So he allowed me to have a hit single in pop radio as a writer. And the minute I heard it on the radio, instead of feeling excited about it, I realized in that moment, there is nothing of me in this song. I'm just aping the culture, giving them what I think they want. And I went into our church that night. It was open 24/7. I went into the church and I sat down. I said, Lord, I know you've given me this gift of music. And I also know that this is not what I'm supposed to be doing with it. So
Mhm.
please show me what it is I'm supposed to be doing. And even if it's not music, whatever, I just want my life to matter.
Mhm.
And about 2 weeks later, I got a phone call from a total stranger who had seen me at church sing a song one time. And he said, I just licensed a book on childhood sexual abuse by two Christian authors. I'm starring in Les Miserables at the Schubert Theater. This was when I was living in Los Angeles. He said, and I'm going to produce a play on this issue based on this book, and I want it to have songs, and I think you're the guy who's supposed to write them. And I literally held the phone out and then looked up. I was like, wow, that is such a specific answer to prayer. But
Wow.
that was God opening the door for me. And once I saw what a song could do to help heal the life of somebody in deep pain, it was like, okay, more of this.
Yeah. So again, I'm thinking as you're talking about like the songs that you have put together for this, project that you've done, what is the song that you feel has hit you most deeply?
I think the one that touches me the most deeply, oh gosh, it's probably You Are Not What Happened to You, because I think we carry a lot of baggage in our lives, and it's very difficult sometimes to accept that, okay, that happened, but that is not who I am. That doesn't define me.
Mhm.
We all carry scars. We've all been through things that were hurtful, and we have felt guilt and we have felt shame. But y'all know what Brene Brown says about that. Guilt is I did something wrong. Shame is I am bad, and not, and, we need to reject that, and we need to not carry that baggage with us and let things that happened to us, often things that were not our fault at all. We had nothing to do with it. For example, an abused child, they don't have any reason to be ashamed of that. But as human beings, we often take it there. That's very common when a child's parents divorce. They think it's their fault. Well, of course not. But we need to be able to learn to set that aside or put it in perspective. So that song to me is very, very meaningful because it says,
Mhm.
"You are not what happened to you. Our identity is in Christ, not in the mistakes or failures or hurts of the past."
You said that, God has designed us so that a song is uniquely able to communicate healing, and Music for the Soul has addressed 44 difficult topics through music, including eating disorders,
Yes.
pornography addiction, abortion recovery, suicide, and grief. Do you want to talk about that?
Well, it's, when people go to our website, sometimes I'm concerned they'll be overwhelmed because this is our 20th year. And when you create all this music about different topics, it can be like, oh gosh, where do I start? And so I always encourage people, there's a menu on our homepage to look at the menu and go, okay, what is the area where I have a need, where I'm hurting, or where somebody I love is hurting? Each of those projects has been prayed over, has been worked on for a number of years, has had, input from Christian therapists, from people who have survived and recovered from the issue. So, all of those projects, I refer to something called the code of pain because people ask often, how could you do all these different topics? And it's kind of like there are these coats of pain hanging in a closet, and we take that coat off and we wear it for a while because I really want people to feel, I know this to be true. People will not trust you with their hope unless they feel like you understand their pain. So in order to do that, we have to do our very best to try and walk in someone's shoes to the extent that that's possible. And I feel like the Spirit really helps us do that because that's our heart's desire. So that when somebody hears one of our songs, they will feel seen and heard and known. Because being heard is almost the same thing as being loved, right? We need to know that we're understood. And of course, it's not just that people understand, but that God understands.
Mhm.
So that's how we go about it. Um, the other thing that I'm very conscious of and that we're trying to do, pastors didn't go to seminary or to Bible college to learn how to be an expert on eating disorders
Mhm.
or on pornography addiction or caregiving or abortion remorse or special needs families. I mean, you name it, all these different issues. And so I really, as I said earlier, I really want this to be a toolkit giving people additional resources to help speak into these areas of deep pain, because that's what we're doing. We're trying to help people in deep pain, with from a psychological perspective, but with from a Christ-centered perspective.
But what led you to release Hole in the Sight of God after so long?
Oh, that's a song that I wrote when I found out that our son was going to be born with spina bifida.
Oh,
And
okay.
I wrote the song because that was really, songwriters, we process stuff by writing songs. And that was the message I received from God when I was praying about our son before he was born, that God wasn't sending me a broken body. He was sending me a soul. He was
Mhm.
sending me a spirit.
Oh,
And so I wrote that song and we released it several years ago. And then recently I was just feeling burdened that my wife and I are beyond that now. Our son is 30 now. But I thought, there are people who are walking that road right now. There are people who are finding out today that a child they're carrying is going to have to struggle with a disability. So I thought it would be a good idea to revisit that and create a music video to help share that message. And so that's what Hole in the Side of God is about. And people can find that on our website or at YouTube.
is Music for the Soul a record label?
No, no. A record label has recording artists, like a roster of recording artists, and they support tours and they try to get songs in rotation on the radio. Hey, it's not that I wouldn't love for our songs to be in rotation on the radio, but that's not what we're designed to do. We're designed to equip therapists and pastors and ministry leaders with songs that will help people heal from deep pain.
And what kind of projects and plans are you coming up with? What's coming up for you in the future?
Well, we just recorded a song last week for single parents because the folks who are doing that job have such a difficult job, and so we recorded a song called "I Only Needed One," and it's sung from the perspective of an adult looking back on and realizing what a tremendous job their single parent did. So we're going to be releasing that soon, and we're right now in production on a documentary. We've had a couple of award-winning documentaries. Somebody's Daughter was people struggling with pornography, and More Beautiful was for people dealing with breast cancer. And so right now we're doing one called Innocent Child, which is going to be for women who have had incest as part of their past.
Okay. And so, everyone, you can find out more about Steve as an author, a songwriter, and a podcaster by going to his website, musicforthesoul.org. And Steve, what would you like to leave my audience with today?
Like them to know that no matter what they are carrying, no matter what ways they may have been wounded or hurts they have, that God loves them, knows them, understands, and that freedom and healing and hope are always possible.
What if the hope you've been searching for is closer than you think? Thank you for joining me and Steve Siler today. And if you like this interview, like and subscribe for more Christ-centered conversations. And check out the website, thecallwithnancysabato.com, to find out more about our previous guests. And don't forget to comment below. Until next time, all glory and honor to King Jesus.
Only you believe you are not what happened to you. You are not what happened to you. That old pain, that old scar won't define who you are. You are not what happened to you. You're not what happened to you. You are not what happened to you. You are not